Hey there. So glad that you could join me today or tonight, whenever you're watching this, for a little chat on a subject entitled Your Child's Irritating Habit Might Be a Strength. I know you're thinking to yourself, that can't possibly be so. But I'm hoping that you will listen to what I have to share, and perhaps it will shift your thinking. Um, so I want to tell you a short story. A mom came into my office. I am a coach, a homeschool coach, and she came into my office and we did her review and we checked her work samples and we looked at her curriculum and just the pace at which her child was going, and everything was, looking good. And so this child, he must have been maybe 5, maybe 6, somewhere in there. And so she was talking to me about, their day to day. Everything was looking good from a reviewer's perspective. And when we finished, she said, I just have one question. And I said, sure, what is it? She said, I don't understand why my child is breaking up everything in the house. She said, I am so frustrated. I'll go and buy something brand new. I'll look up and it's in pieces. And I'm asking him, why are you doing this? And stop touching my stuff. And he keeps doing it. And I am about to pull my hair out. Well, first of all, I, just calmed her down. I was like, man, I understand, Mom. That would be frustrating for me too. And I asked her a very important question. But before I tell you what I asked her, let me introduce myself. My name is Anita Gibson. I am a coach, speaker, educational strategist, and the author of a book called Starfinder. And it's about finding the gifts in every child, because I believe that every child is a star. And STAR stands for strengths, has strengths, talents, abilities, and resources. And we as the parents have the privilege of being able to find them and bring those things out. But I'll talk to you more about that later. So let me get back to the story and tell you what I shared with her. Actually, the question that I asked her. So when she shared those things, the question I asked her was, what if your child is a budding engineer and he's breaking all your stuff up because he has this insatiable need to know how things work? And she was like, wow, I never thought about that. I said, okay, let's do a little test here to see if this could possibly be what's going on. So would you be willing to go to the thrift store and pick up several objects that he can, break apart and not electrocute himself or hurt himself in any way, but would be able to take it apart, fiddle with it, see how the pieces work together, and maybe even reverse engineer it and put it back together. Create like an area in the house that has these little items that come in every couple of weeks that he can just fiddle with to his heart's content, and see if he stops breaking up your stuff. So she said, I'll try it. And so went to the thrift store, got the stuff, created the area in the house, and she called me about 2 or 3 weeks later and she said, wow, it really worked. He has stopped breaking up my stuff and is actually enjoying fiddling with all the different objects that we have purchased for him from the thrift store. Now that young man, we saw that kind of gift in the raw at 5 or 6. He is now a junior in high school and is actually already at university. He is taking courses like calculus and trigonometry, and that engineering thing is just showing so strongly on him now. It's developed and it's strong, but we saw it all the way back when he was 5. Was that an irritating kind of thing going on for mom? It absolutely was. But that irritation was actually a sign of a gift in the raw, a gift immature, but nonetheless a strength that was in that young man that is just budding forth in amazing ways now. So I'm trying to get you just to begin to think about your child as I'm talking, to think of maybe some area where there's an irritation and you maybe never thought about it like that before. So let me give you another example. Our oldest daughter, from the day that she began talking, never stopped. She was a chatterbox, and she is one to this day. She talked when she got up in the morning. She talked when she went to bed at night. She talked all through the day. Any of you guys have one like that? There were days when I would run into the bathroom and lock the door, and I would say, Mommy needs a minute. And we had a rule in our house that if you're not dying or bleeding, do not knock on that door. And I would be in that bathroom, and some days I would be like, I wish she would just shut up. And I know I couldn't say that to her, because that wouldn't be a good thing. I've probably come close, though, because it just was so irritating, this constant chatter about everything. She had an opinion about everything, and it just was overwhelming to me until I realized that, number one, I should be thankful that my daughter wants to talk to me. And if I keep pushing her away, she won't be talking to me much longer. She'll find someone else who wants to hear about her life and her thoughts and the things that she thinks about. And so I had to admit that the thing that irritated me about her was more about me than it was about her. You know why? Because it took mental energy to still my own thoughts, because I'm racing. I'm a rabbit, so I'm always doing stuff. I'm here, I'm there, I'm everywhere. My brain is always going. And so to actually get my brain to slow down enough to be still long enough to actually hear my daughter's heart was not her issue. It was mine. Now, did we have to tell her and teach her when it's appropriate to talk, and that there are some times when, it's good to be quiet? Yes, because it was a gift that was in the raw. But the irritation was not something she was doing wrong. Firstly, it was because I didn't want to slow myself down enough to hear what she had to say, or take the time even to say, okay, well, we can't talk about that right now, but how about, and pick a time in a day when we're going to sit down, because I want to hear everything you're talking about, because it is so exciting and I am so proud of you. And so the first thing I had to do was admit that it irritated me and get to the root of why. And then I had to begin to put on new glasses. So I had to borrow a new lens and begin to look at her in a different way, and to honor that gift that I saw that was there, that strength, and then to begin to create environments where it was okay to speak, to begin to have events in our house where she would be able to host them, to be able to, at the church, find that niche where plays. She loved doing plays. She loved to sing. Finding all those places where she would be able to just build and strengthen that gift. And lo and behold, she is now a Foreign Service officer working for the State Department. And basically, She does a lot of talking. She trains. She does. She intakes people that need visas, and she's traveled all over the world. And she has the ability to take that strength, that gift, and be able to use it in her job, and she does very well at it. In fact, she also knows 3 languages. She speaks Vietnamese and French, and of course English. But it's just amazing. What would have happened if we kept shutting that thing down and saying, you talk too much and you get on my nerves, and you know how we do. What if that became a negative instead of being able to see the positive? Thank God I was able to borrow those new lenses and see what was an irritation as what it really was, and that was a strength. So now let's go back to your child. Think again. Ask God to show you something that's an irritation for you. Could it possibly be a gift? I'm going to give you one more example to see if this will help you. Our other daughter had an irritation as well. And her irritation was that she did everything slowly. Everything. Whether it was eating her breakfast, or getting her homeschool work done, getting dressed, everything was slowly. And it was so irritating for me as a mom and frustrating because she was the second daughter, and she came after the first one, the talkative one, who just academics was her strength. I barely even remember teaching her how to read, and because she was my firstborn, I made that assumption that all the other kids would be the same, and they absolutely were not. And if you have more than one child, you know what I'm saying is true. And so she was the exact opposite of her sister, and I could not figure it out. We would try to start reading something, and she would hit a word that she didn't know and just burst out in tears, and just it was just such just a difficult experience trying to help her with her reading. She struggled with her reading, and maybe she's in 4th grade and she's still struggling. She just did everything slowly. We had her tested. There was no special needs going on, no learning disabilities. She just learned at a different rate. She learned in a different way. And one day, I just realized her esteem was just going so low. And God gave me a picture. And he gave me an analogy that I was able to share with her. And the analogy was, if you had a disease and the doctors couldn't figure out what it was. And so you had one doctor who was really fast, take your x-ray and have your x-ray taken. And he's sitting there and he's looking and he's going through the quadrants and he's like, no, it's not. It's not there. You're good. We don't see anything. No problem. Say it's cancer. We see no cancer. You're fine. You can go. But then you had another doctor who went really slowly through each of the quadrants. It took him maybe 2 weeks to get through looking through your charts because he was so methodic. But when he finished looking through all your charts, he noticed that he saw a spot in this quadrant over here and was able to do further research and find out not only that you had cancer, but where it was, what stage it was in, and what was the diagnosis and the treatment. Which doctor would you want? And she thought about it. She's like, I would want the doctor who went more slowly. I said, even if that means you wouldn't know what the results were for like maybe a month, because it took them 2 weeks, first of all, to look at them, and then another 2 weeks to process them. Now you wouldn't even know the results for a month with a slower doctor, but you still would want the slower doctor? She's like, yeah. I said, well, why? Because he would get to the root of my problem and be able to help me. I said, exactly. And that is why God has created you to do things at a slower pace. Because the job he has for you, the assignment he has for you, is one that he needs you to be that methodic person that will take their time and go through whatever it is they need to do to get the right outcome. Most people in our society do not honor slow. And I had to repent because as her mother, I did not honor it either. I had to learn the beauty of slow. I had to learn, I had to admit my irritation. She's not getting this. I've taught it this many different ways. Still, she wakes up the next morning and it's like whatever we talked about, she's forgotten it. The beauty of slow. I had to learn that means I need to teach it in a different way. It's not her problem, it's mine. I need to add some more manipulatives. I need to get some videos out. I need to bring in different ways of her touching and feeling and understanding it so she can get it, because there's nothing wrong with her. She learns differently, and I have to figure out how she learns. So I was able to admit my irritation. I was able to borrow those new lenses and see the beauty of slow. And then I was able to coach her dad and I, my husband, we were able to begin coaching her and helping her to figure out what her gifts were. And she loved animals. And we made a decision in our house that she would be the only one who would be able to have pets. And she had all kinds of pets and hamsters and rabbits. And she was so good at it. She raised them and took them to her dad and her took them to the pet store. And she would sell the rabbits and the hamsters that would be birthed, and they would give her food, and she did this exchange thing, and her confidence began to get built, and she began to get stronger in her academics and better. And then she wanted to start reading more, because now I want to learn how to take better care of my hamsters, or I need to know with more about my rabbits. And so she would just get excited about reading. I'm not pulling her, but now she's saying, can we go to the library? Because I want to get a book about this, or I want to get a book about that. But I had to realize that the thing that irritated me was actually a strength, and begin to put those ABCs that I just talked about in place, admitting that irritation is there and that is my issue, borrowing those new lenses so I could begin to see her really the way she was, the strength, the beauty of slow, and beginning to coach that gift and create environments that would make and allow it to blossom. So I hope that as I'm talking, you're thinking about your own child and some of the areas of irritation that they bring that might just be a strength. If you'd like to know more about what I'm sharing today, I've written a book called Starfinder, and it is a book that helps a parent move to the next level in their advocacy and championship for their child. There's strategies and ideas in there that help specifically for a struggling student, but really for any child to be able to find their star power, their strengths, their talents, their abilities, and their resources. You can check it out on Amazon. If you put Anita Gibson in, it'll pop right up. Or you can actually purchase your own copy at BIT, and that's B as in boy, bit.ly/Starfinder. And so I am hoping that this information was helpful. And again, I am Anita Gibson, coach, speaker, educational strategist, and I am so thankful for you, Mom. You are one of the most important people in this world. And you will be able to do everything that God has called you to do for that child, because that's why He gave them to you. I love you.